Hello everyone, welcome to the Dragunov guide. This video is going to be a part 2 to my previous frame trap guide, because I realized I left out a couple of interesting setups and I wanted to talk about. So let's jump immediately into the game. And I want to talk about first about a new discovery that I made recently that involves Upback 2. Now, Upback 2 is a move that I never really cared for the longest time. And the reason is because, as you can see, this move, it's a high. It's a sidestep move. So it's one of those classic moves, a little bit like Jin, Upback, up 2. Like this move, right? Or Feng Wei also has a very similar move. Dragunov seems really good on paper. This move seems very good on paper because it's a high, it's safe on block. Now Jin is not blocking, but okay. It's safe on block at -5, which is it's not that bad, right? -5. It's pretty good with some pushback, and on counter it's actually a launcher. But the problem is that this move is very slow, so it's very hard to hit someone or counter it, and sometimes you get clipped while doing this. I tried to use this move in regular matches, and it never worked, so I always ignored this move for the longest time. But then I realized that this move can actually be used in certain setups. One of these setups is, for example, after back 4-2-1. Here we are left at +1, so at the wall you would most of the times, and you would follow up with 1-2-1, right? Because this will give you a wall splat. But in the open, it could actually be a good idea to follow up with this. Now, this is not as strong as 1-2-1, because 1-2-1 is uninterruptible. There's nothing your opponent can do. This one, of course, it sidesteps, but it can be interrupted depending on the move the opponent uses. So it needs to be used, but you need to be careful. But it can be very rewarding, especially in the open. For example, if you notice that Jin really likes to press buttons after blocking the last hit, let's say he does something like this. Now this depends on the character. Like in this case, like Jin's 1-2 shouldn't track, if I remember correctly, but depending on the character, for example, I tested this with Lee. With Lee, 1-2 tends to track. So it really depends on what the opponent likes to use afterwards. You see? Like this. If you see that Jin likes to use, likes to attack afterwards, this can be actually very interesting to try and apply. Like that. Even if he trades, you still get the combo. It's weird because it should connect. I don't know why it's not connecting. The last back 4-3 should connect. It should connect, but sometimes it's a bit finicky. So back 4-2-1 is really good. Of course, standing 1 can also be a good setup since it is +1 on block. Another setup is, for example, after 1-2. I've noticed that a lot of players, they like to mash after 1-2. I don't know if they do it because there is a natural pause after the 1-2, so they kind of realize this is not 2+, I can press. Or if it is because they know that this move is only +2. But this can be a very strong setup. If they like to press after 1-2, sometimes I use 1-2 as a punish sometimes because, I get caught off guard. My opponent does a punishable attack and I don't have time to react and do 2-1. So I do 1-2 quickly, just to get some damage. And I've seen people pressing after 1-2. So this could be a good option. When you do 1-2 on hit, you can try to follow up with this. Also 1-2-1 is a good option. 1-2 into 1-2-1. But if you're in the open and you want to try to score a launch, this can be actually a good idea. You can experiment with this setup. I guess there are even more situations where this move can be very strong. I just suggest you not to use this setup when you have a lot of frame advantage, because in those situations, it usually won't work. You see? 1-2 will realign. So you need to be at the this needs to be like a setup tool. You need to use this move only in specific situations where you have a slight frame advantage and your opponent would really like to press buttons. So this can be very interesting. It's not really useful on its own, like to try and sidestep your opponent's attacks and punish him, but it can be useful depending on the situation. Outside from this, we can also talk about another interesting setup. Can actually be 2-1-3 here. After 2-1-3, the opponent recovers in crouch here. He recovers in crouch, and you're at +3. So a lot of opponents, they like to press buttons afterwards, and they don't even realize that they are in full crouch here. So what you can do here, you can follow up with down forward 1-4. If they try to press, most likely... Oh wait, this is standing punishments. If they try to press a button... Record? Like this, for example. If they try to press a button... Wait. You see? It will connect. So this is actually interesting. Although, I usually go into sneak after 2-1. But you know, it can be interesting, especially in low level. You can catch people off guard with this. Down forward 1-4. I guess like if they do a down jab, that's gonna trade, but it's not a big deal, in my opinion. And another setup that you can try to use, it's actually 4-1 into down 1. I really like this setup. This is only on hit, by the way. You punish something with 4-1, or you just hit your opponent with 4-1. Following up with down 1, it's actually very interesting because the move, it's uninterruptible. I mean, it trades with standing jabs, but the trade is in your favor. If the opponent presses a button... wait. This will trade and you get a guaranteed follow-up on the ground. And it's also, because the 4-1 is +8, so this becomes 10 frames, like comes out at 10 frames. And it's good because on its own, it's actually +1 on block. So you can follow up with a throw or 1-2-1. Whatever, you still have the advantage there. And then we're gonna talk about power crush setups, because I use them a lot. If you watch my gameplay videos, you will realize I have some setups that I didn't talk about in my previous video, but you will see me use these setups a lot. For example, at the wall, I really like to use down 3-2, 1+2. And the reason is because most people don't know this, they don't realize this. But down 3-2, 1+2, it's actually only -2 on block. It chips, and it's only -2 on block. The last hit, it's interruptible. Your opponent can jab in between. You do down 3-2, and then before the 1+2 comes out, it can jab you, but most people don't do that. So what I do is I do this, and then most players, a huge chunk of the player base, honestly, most players I play against, they will try to press because they say, okay, this is a free hit string. This must be at least minus, if not punishable, because you see Dragunov doing this big committal attack. So from the animation, it looks like the move it's actually very minus or even punishable. But the reality is that this move is actually -2. So I really like to follow up with 1+2. And a lot of people will take the bait. A lot of people. Is he blocking? Yeah, no. I need to get at the wall with 1+2, like this. This is actually very good. Another interesting setup that you can try to use with a Power Crush is actually when the opponent breaks 1+2. Your 1+2 throw, Blizzard Rush. This. You're still at -6. I mean, I guess you can be interrupted because you're at -6. You don't have enough frames. But most people will fall for this. Unfortunately, I can't show you this, but I'm using this a lot. When my opponent breaks my 1+2, I try to follow up with a Power Crush, and in most cases they try to press a button and they get countered. And if they are at the wall, this will turn into a wall splat, right? Yeah, I can't show you this now, but it will basically turn into a wall splat. If they are close to the wall, I guess this is something that you should know already. If you watch some of my gameplays, stand and approach. If they are close to the wall, you can still float them with down 3 to 1+2. Down 3 to 1+2. You can still float them if they are close to the wall, like this. So that's an interesting setup, but there are a lot of them. Like for example, after 4-1, 4-1 it's only -4 now on block, so which means that you can follow up with a Power Crush. Oh no, you can't. Why? I have 6 frames to do this. That's weird. Because you generally need 6 frames to trigger armor here. And you have, because it's -4. You still have 6 frames to play around with. Yeah, the parry works. I don't know why that doesn't work. The Dragunov needs a little bit more. Yeah, you can parry here. You can't Sabaki, but you can at least you can parry. And parry, it's usually 6 frames. I don't know. And another cheesy strategy that you can try to apply. I don't know if I already talked about this, but it is actually, if you want to cheese the opponent as much as possible, this can be actually an interesting setup. It's not guaranteed, but it's actually very strong. Standing jab into throw. Standing jab into throw. Like, if you want to cheese a bit, this is actually a strong setup. Standing jab into throw. Because you're at +1, the throw is not uninterruptible because it's 11 frames. But most players will respect you after a standing jab. Because most players, they know that this is plus. I'm not gonna press afterwards. So you can stop them from moving with standing 1, and then you throw them. This is a flow chart that I discovered on my own, but then I saw JDCR talking about this in a video. But this is actually very good. But don't use it too much because it's a bit, you know, it's a bit cheesy. It's a bit cheesy. But if you are in a bad position, yeah, you need a comeback. You can try to score a free throw with this. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say, so thank you so much for watching and take care.